Hello, welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dream of owning a home or investing in one. Today's show, we're going to be speaking about the new New York City housing laws. These new laws, even though they're in New York City is sort of being a test tube, and some of these laws may eventually go out into other cities and other states across America. I am okay with some of the laws, but some of the laws, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like them at all. At all. So let me run them down to you, give you my opinion, and then later a possible solution. Number one law says landlords must give at least 30 days notice to tenants if they intend to raise the rent of a unit by 5% or more. I agree with this. It even goes on further to say that the longer a tenant has been in a place, the more notice a landlord should give for a rent increase. 60-day notice for tenants who have been in the unit for 1 or 2 years. 90-day notice to tenants who have lived in a unit for at least 2 years or more. Again, this is only if you're going to be raising the rent by more than 5%. You're going to be shocked, but I actually agree with this. I think that it is somewhat difficult for many people to adjust their budgets to go ahead and pay an exorbitant amount of money. And it also can be difficult because let's say they can't afford that 5% or more. They're going to need time to move and find a new place. It's not that easy, particularly in New York City, to find another place to move, especially an affordable place to move to. So, guys, I'm for this. I really am. Next, unlawful evictions. Unlawful evictions nowadays is going to be a misdemeanor, subject to a fine of $1,000. Unlawful eviction basically is when you go ahead and you change the lock while the tenant's furniture and what have you is still in there. That I can understand because in a sense it's kind of like you're taking their furniture, you're taking their belongings. So I understand where that law comes from. Next, number 3. Instead of 10 days to fix most lease violations, tenants now have 30 days. I don't have a problem with that. The reason is because sometimes it can take a long time to fix something. Some of these contractors, they're just not dependable at all. They don't come when you want them to come. So 30 days to me is a reasonable amount of time as opposed to 10 days. Now, let's go on to number 4. It says the landlord cannot charge more than $20 to run a background check on an application fee. I have a problem with this because a lot of these background check companies cost more than $20. So this is definitely an issue for me. Next, the backlisting of purportedly troublesome tenants or refusing an applicant based on past landlord-tenant disputes is now prohibited. I have a huge issue with this one because if a tenant was taken to court by a previous landlord because they did not pay the rent, I don't think I have if I do not want somebody like that living in my property, in any of my properties, if you don't pay the rent, you shouldn't live here, period. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen with particularly those two laws. Most landlords are not going to be landlords anymore. They're going to turn their property into Airbnb, or they're going to turn their property into corporate housing. And the supply for affordable housing will definitely dwindle because of those two new decrees. Next, security deposits are now limited to 1 month's rent, and the landlord must return them within 14 days of the tenant leaving the unit, along with an itemized statement covering any deductions made. I don't have problems with the fact that the security deposit is now limited to 1 month's rent. However, 14 days may be a little bit too much. And to me, it's not fair, because if you're giving the tenant 30 days to fix any lease violations, then the landlord should also have 30 days to fix whatever the tenant may have damaged. And again, contractors are not always on schedule. They don't always come when they're supposed to come. Sometimes they come later, and that's one of the reasons why it can take 30 days to return someone's money. So that's why I am not all that crazy about this particular situation. And then lastly, it says housing courts will now have more stringent requirements to consider how an eviction will affect the tenant's health and well-being, including the school attendance of children who live in the unit. Listen, I understand that an eviction can affect children's attendance. I really do. But if you go to court and you successfully win an eviction, I do believe that no matter what, that tenant should leave by the end of the month. They really should. You as a landlord, I don't think it is fair. I'm going to definitely look into this particular decree. I'm going to have to go over it with my my local representatives and let them know I'm not happy, and I'm not feeling this, not one iota, not one bit. Because if you're telling me that I have to maintain the light, the water, and everything else in that unit for somebody who's not paying me rent, who hasn't paid me, and I won the eviction, that's wrong. That is dead ass wrong. They gotta go. No, I'm not feeling this particular law at all. And again, this law is, especially this particular law, it's going to increase homelessness. It's going to decrease affordable housing in New York City. This particular law, it's going to make things worse. It's not going to make things better. You're going to have landlords who are now going to say, you know what? We're not going to rent to anybody who has kids. And they can do that, because if your property, the way it stands is, if your property already has nothing but single people, you can turn around and say, you know what? The whole building is now only going to be for single people. And you can say that you don't want to rent to anybody with kids. So now you're going to make it a lot harder for people who have kids to find affordable housing. And they could be a good tenant, but because of this law, and because you do have bad tenants who do have children, that's what's going to happen with this particular law. Or you're going to make people say, you know what, I'm going to make the rent on this particular unit so high that a person with kids can't afford it. Or you're going to say, I'm not going to rent to regular people. I am going to only make this for corporate housing, or I'm only going to make this for Airbnb, or I'm only going to make this if the apartment is big enough, rent it to people who want to do photo shoots or film movies. But you're not going to have people renting the property out like that anymore. Or the other thing that you're going to do, and it's already happening, is more and more people will leave the city of New York and go somewhere else, which means you'll have people who will not be paying taxes. You'll lose out on your tax money. So New York City government, I think you need to rethink these laws that you've just passed. They're going to do more damage than good. Okay? Well, folks, that's all I have for you tonight. Hopefully, the information that I've shared will help you make safe financial moves. Feel free to pass this along. Remember, each one, reach one, teach one. Also, if you have any comments, you can post them on my YouTube channel, which is entitled The Real Estate Regroup Show. All right, bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.